have to say we are doing really, really well for this game. We've covered two main sections, which is our first function hand selection, responsible for the player's choice. We also have AI choice function, responsible for a very random choice for the computer. And we also created the start game function, which is the main function in our application. It is going to take us step by step. Since we have those two sections covered, the next step would be to actually have the result of the game. And again, since we have our main function here, we're going to create a const called game result here. And this is going to be very similar situation to the line 36 in here. Instead of like implementing the function here, we're just gonna execute a new function here, which is gonna be declared someplace else. So our code is neat, tidy, and very, very transparent. So our check result function, again with a keyword function, is the declaration. To check the result, we need to know what's been selected by the user or the player and by the computer. Those values are being stored here in the game object, and this is in the global scope. So we do not need to pass any parameters here and any arguments here, but we will for the practice. So basically here since we expect the player's hand and the AI hand, we're going to introduce two parameters, player and AI. And in here, when we execute the function, we're going to pass as the arguments actual values. So game, player hand, and game. So here we're passing the actual values for our parameters. And now the body of the function, so the actual implementation. What do we need to do in here? We have to cover all the possible scenarios to find out who's the winner and who's the loser. So the first one, when there is no winner and there's no loser, is the draw. So if player triple equal sign, just to make sure that everything is covered. In this case, we could do two equal signs and it still be okay, but I would just always advise to use triple. So if the player equals AI, then we're just going to do a console log for now, even though we're going to change it to a return later on. So console log draw, just for now. The next is going to come else if, and else if in this case is going to cover every possible situation when it is the player who's the winner. I'm going to wrap it in extra pair of parentheses just for the better clarity of the code and to make it more transparent, easy to read basically. So I've got a player equals, and the first option is the rock, and AI equals. What AI has to equal for the player to win is scissors. Cool. Or if player equals paper, paper is always gonna win with the rock. Or if player equals last case scenario scissors and AI equals paper, then console log win. And if there is any other combination, this is always going to mean that the player has lost. So we're going to console log loss. And this is us covering all possible scenarios. So now let's go back to our start game and let's do a console log for the game result. And here in the check result function, we're also going to console log whatever has been picked. So player and AI. Save it. And now I'm going to pick rock. Oh, we have that extra undefined. That's not good. This extra console log is coming from line 18, which we do not need at the moment. So I'm just going to comment this out. And let's play again. I'm going to pick rock again. Okay, so the rock is defined, but the player AI is not defined. Player is defined, AI is not defined. Why is the okay, because we, instead of the AI hand, we just passed game AI, which is nothing in this application. So save it. Now we are passing an actual value instead of an undefined. And let's play again. I'm gonna pick rock again, hit let's play. So we have a rock against scissors, win. Let's play. Paper, paper, draw. That's correct. Paper on my, scissors on my side and the rock on the computer's side. That is my loss. Correct. Let's play again. Paper, paper, draw. Paper, rock, win. Paper, rock, win. Cool. So it seems like everything's okay. This is working just fine. We just need to make sure that this is not a console log, which we are not actually going to use, but we're going to do a return. Return, draw, return, win, and return loss. Save it. And we've covered the game results, and the next step, not the last one, but second to the last, is gonna be placing our game score inside the panels on the left and on the right. So this is the next step for us, and the next video is gonna do this. Cool. So far we have our player's choice. We have also the computer's choice, and at this stage we also know who won the game. So the next thing we have to do is to actually fill out the panel on the left and the panel on the right hand side. So all this information here and all those zeros, they have to change into actual values. Our function start game, responsible for entire game, will now receive yet another function. I'm going to call it publish result because this is us publishing result. It's going to receive some arguments, but for now, let's first declare our function. Keyword function, publish results, and implementation. So here we need a few parameters. As before, we didn't need to pass game player hand and game AI hand because these are in the global scope. But just to stay consistent, we are going to use it. Player and AI again, and also the result. And although we don't need the first two, the result, that is this game result from here, it's only available inside this function start game. So this one is necessary. So the first two, not necessary. The third one, very necessary. So we've got game again, AI hand, and the third one. So these are actual values. In the declaration, just the parameters, so what the function expects to receive. And here, we need to pass the actual values. Result. Game result. Cool. And so what do we start? What do we need for here? We want to show your choice. So the player's choice, we want to show the computer's choice. So these things for certain. So let's do a document, query selector, as per usual. And inside here, what do we need to pass? What is the element in our index HTML that we want to refer to? So we've got this panel on the left, got our paragraph. Inside the paragraph, we have our span. Inside that span is where we want to place the value of the player's choice. And here we have our customized data summary. So this is our element we want to get inside. So here, just remember about the square brackets. This is absolutely normal way to refer to this CSS selector. And here we want to access its text content property and set it to our first parameter, which is player. And we are going to do the same thing for the AI with one small change. This data summary is called AI choice, so I'm just gonna replace your choice with AI choice and that player from here with AI, so our second parameter. Cool. And before we get to the winner, one thing that is gonna change every time the game is being played is the number of games played. So we're gonna do a document, again query selector, and inside here, let's have a peek. We are on the panel right, got a paragraph. Inside that paragraph we have a span and class numbers. So to get that specific element, we're gonna do a P for paragraph class numbers, and what we actually want to get is in fact span. And here we gonna do again, gonna get to inside the text content property and set it to, we want to increment that 0 every time a new game is played. So to get inside, what value do we really need? Do you remember at the very beginning we've created this object game summary that was a representation of our panel on the right hand side? Here we have numbers, which we are currently working on. So we want the value from here to be incremented and pasted as the text content in our index.html file. So we want to refer to a game summary object, get inside the numbers property, and we want to make sure it's being incremented every time we play the game. So just gonna make it slightly bigger. Maybe it's gonna help. No, smaller then. You can see the 2 pluses. This is pre-incrementation, meaning that every time this function is gonna be called, so every time start game function is gonna be called, this game summary numbers is gonna be incremented every single time. And the pluses in front mean this is a pre-incrementation, so the first is gonna be incremented and then the result is gonna be shown, which is gonna be like a live showing incrementation. Cool. So these 3 elements are being covered, and the next thing we need to cover is like conditions. So it's not as straightforward. We're going to create a condition if the result of the game is win. So what happens if the result of the game is win? So all those scenarios are covered. We have the win, and we want to update a few things. First of all, we want to update the board here, and we also want to show the winner. So again, a document, it's a lot of typing, a lot of writing in this section, but unfortunately this is the way to do it. Because query selector again, and what do we need to select here? Let's go to index.html. We now have the panel on the right hand side, and we have p class wins, and this is inside the span. Cool. So we want to get inside the paragraph with the class of wins, and in essence we want to get inside that span. We will get a text content property, and we are going to set it equal to, again, this time we want to update this value in here. So again, we're going to get inside the game summary object to the wins property and increment it by 1, but only in case the result is win. So game summary wins, and 2 pluses in front for the pre-incrementation. Cool. So this should cover that. And another thing we want to do is to get again to document by query selector. This time we want to update the winner, and the winner is on the panel on the left hand side with data summary of who win. So let's copy the entire thing. Let's go back to game.js, and again, square brackets, very important that we do not forget about them to get the right element. Again, text content property, and we are going to type U1. Cool. And another thing I want to change, I'm going to copy the entire thing, but I'm going to just make modifications on here, because I still want to work on the same span, the winner. And instead of the text content, I want to get inside the style, and I want to update the color. So I want to have the winner shown in green. Cool. So this is us being covered for the result win, and we just need to cover the loss and the draw. So I'm gonna type else if result equals loss, and here I'm just gonna copy the entire thing and modify it inside here instead of type one by one. So one by one, got wins. We do not want to update wins because this is a losses game. Let's go back to index.html. The class is called losses. So instead of wins, we are going to specify losses. The rest stays the same because the structure was pretty much the same in the index.html. Again, text content, and here we don't want to update wins, but we want to update losses. It's called the same, and it's taken from our game summary object. So here I'm changing losses, wins into losses, updating the right span here, incrementing by one. And document query selector who win is going to stay the same, but the message is going to change because this time is the computer who won. Computer won, and we're going to make a sad face. And instead of the green color, we're going to do a red color as an alert, because this is not what we wanted to happen. Okay, and then got else. So every other case, which is going to be a draw, but we don't have to specify if the result is draw because we've got two cases covered and the last one is draw. So this is like self-explanatory. But one thing we can do, we can copy this and paste it here. And instead of losses, our class is called draws. So we're gonna do, instead of losses here, we're gonna do draws. Here, again, this is called the same in our game summary object, draws. We're gonna update it in here. Wow, this is a little bit tedious. But I assure you, if you're gonna be like working on your own and just thinking of the next steps, this is not gonna be tedious. You're gonna be like, your head is gonna be smoking, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, I've got this so many query selectors, I can't find the right one. So pay attention now and don't be bored. So go game summary, draws, and we've got the span for who wins, and this is no longer a computer won or we won, this is a draw. So I'm doing capital letters draw. And it's like face not expressing any happiness or sadness, just like mwah. Cool. And the query selector for when we're gonna change that blaring red into gray. Save it. Save it. So we've got all the conditions covered. Everything I thing we wanted to update, we've updated. Our publish results received correct arguments, including the game result from check result here. I'm gonna save it just to be sure. And let's play and let's see if this works. There's a lot of typing, so the more typing by hand, manually, the more prone to accident it is. I'm gonna pick the first one. Let's play. Nothing has updated. I'm kind of thinking this might be because we're not on the right port here. So go live. And let's play. I'm gonna pick paper. Let's play. Cool. See, this other one was from the previous index.html, which stopped at the previous level, so it wasn't updating. This is the original game. This is like step 2, we were just console logging messages, and finally this is our actual game that is showing the correct JS script attached to the correct index.html. So computer 1, that would be correct because we've got paper, this is scissors. Right, computer 1, numbers of game played 1 and games that you've lost 1. Fantastic. Let's play. I'm gonna make it slightly bigger. And my choice scissors, computer choice paper, computer 1, that's definitely not the correct message. We wanted to win because we had scissors and the computer had paper. So what went wrong? Cool, so it took me a moment, but there we go. I have a typo. Instead of paper, I have papier. Papier, which is the same in Polish. So it was very difficult for me to spot the difference because Polish and in English look exactly the same to me. So I couldn't see anything wrong written with that word. Save it now. Let's play again. I'm gonna pick paper to scissors, computer 1. And this is correct. Let's play again. Rock, draw. Scissors, rock. I lose again. Paper, scissors. Your choice paper, computer, scissors. Correct. Everything correct. Finally, I won. I had scissors, computer had paper, and this time this is righteous. So as it should be. Finally, I'm winning because I can keep the paper. Right, so we've covered many things and many sections and a lot of logic for this game, but there is still another part. So for instance, that the choice is reset, although the board is supposed to stay, but the frame is supposed to disappear before making the new choice. So everything should be calculated. So it's kind of like the next stage or the next video. This is gonna be like kind of debugging. So the game works, but it's not prod ready. It's not ready to be released to prod until we remove those minor details, things that we can correct and make it better. So I'll see you at the next video. So I would say our game is working pretty well. We've got all the rules covered, all the scenarios covered, but it needs a little bit like debugging for those minor details that might be a little bit annoying for those who care for details. So we're gonna add one more function to our main function, which is here. here, here, here. After publish results, we're going to create another one. It's going to be called nicely in the end game. End game. What is going to do our end game? So basically, as you can see, I'm picking a hand. I hit let's play. Everything is perfect apart from this one thing that the red frame does not disappear automatically. So what I want here is for the result to clear so that I don't have to kind of like reset the game. It's like resetting the game, but keeping the board updated. So we want every time we hit let's play for the game board to be like as we encounter at the very beginning when we load the page. This is what we want the state to be completely reset. Cool. So we've got end game executing here, and here we'll have an end game declaration. So function end game. And what do we want our function to do? If we don't remember, we can get this hand selection, our first function that we've created in this. And selection is right here. We have that box shadow at which we select for each of images here called hands, because they all represent a hand. These are our images, and we for each of them reset the style to an empty string. This time we are going to try to do it differently. We could use it the same way, the same line to reset everything, but what we want to do is to get to our particular hand, the specific image that we clicked on, and reset only this one box shadow. How do we do it? We'll go back to index.html, and you can see that every image has our customized data set called data option. So the difference is in the value, but we can get to our data set and then inject the actual value that is being stored. And I'm going to show you, and it's going to be it's going to clarify what I'm talking about. So our end game, let's go back to our end game here. We're going to do a document. Again, query selector, and here opening quotation marks, not forgetting about, actually not quotation marks. This time we're gonna do a template string because we want to inject a specific value that is stored in a variable. So we're gonna do a template string, then do not forget about the square brackets, data option. This is our customized data set from our images, equals, and here, this is normally in quotation marks, and here we're going to use our special dollar sign and curly braces in order to inject actual value that is being stored where? In our game object under the player hand. So game player hand. Cool. So we have that injected directly from our game here. So whatever is being stored there at any moment, we are injecting here, and we are selecting this element, the specific element that is being clicked on. So we need to get inside the style property, then we need to set box shadow as we did before, set it to an empty string. So we are resetting it. And now we can check. We can check if our solution works. I'm selecting a rock. I'm hitting let's play. And automatically you can see the red frame has disappeared. This is showing my choice, computer's choice, who the winner is, number of games played. But we do not see that red frame anymore, and I can just select, making new selection every time. This is amazing. Just to kind of like even clean what is the happening underneath, because the box shadow is visible to the user, but what is also being stored underneath is the actual value of the player hand. So even though we kind of reset the box shadow, the value that is being stored here instead of the empty strings is still like being stored. So if I did console log player hand, or let's do it, and I do game and player hand, you can see that the last one that has been selected is still paper, and that's the value that is being stored here. And even though it's not visible to the user, you know that the like a little like a chaos is happening underneath. So it's not good to only clean what is visible to the eyes, but it's also good to clean the actual code. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our end game. We're gonna get inside the game, player hand, and set it to an empty string, which is gonna reset that value as well. So I'm gonna hit play here. Those console logs are happening because we left them throughout the game. And now at any point that I'm gonna try to get the value of the player hand from the game object, we are going to receive an empty string because the value has been reset. We can see the last choice here, but it's no longer stored in that variable here. Cool. And to be like little bit even maybe over eager, because this is definitely something that we cannot see, but we can clear AI hand as well, because this is gonna make it perfect. So let's save it and let's hide the console. We can play our game. It's a very simple application, and you can see how many lines of code we needed, how many kind of like functions that go intertwined together being necessary. And you have two event listeners, one set for our hand selection, the other one for the play button. And we have our main function, start game, that's at first checking if the user made the selection at all. If not, then there is going to be a pop-up window. If we did pick a hand, it's going to go on and it's going to call it AI choice, which is responsible for the computer's choice. It is here, randomized choice, one of the three images. So the next step in our start game is to check the results, because here we had a user's choice, we had computer's choice at this point. We are checking the results. we are receiving. Let's just go for a second and let's see our conditions. So here we're working on who won, who lost, and what is the score for the draw. What are the conditions for the draw? Later on, we had publish results, which was very time consuming because there was a lot of typing. And at the very end game, which is kind of like cleaning the code. Cool, so much. And obviously you can have many other ideas how to approach this game, and I would definitely ask you a favor, so that in a few days or in a couple of weeks, when this knowledge sinks in and kind of like it gets easier with every new project, that you sit down again and try to think of the steps and try to kind of like write the game from scratch. If you don't remember, you can help yourself with like what we've done together, but it will be very important that you come back to it later on, because I realized at this point it may be a little bit like chaotic knowledge, but if you go through a few more projects, I'd like you to come back to this one and try again on your own and think of those steps ahead. And again, if you don't feel comfortable as a developer, that's okay. It's still okay for you to become one. I just think of what you'd expect as the player of the game. Just switch the roles and imagine that you're on the other side. Cool. And I'll see you at the next video.